السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله الأحد القهار وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. Indeed, all praise and thanks belongs to Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala alone. We seek His help, His assistance and guidance in all things. He whom Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala guides, there is none that can misguide him. And he whom Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala leads astray, there is none that can guide him except through the will and permission of Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala alone. And I bear witness and testify that there is no deity worthy of worship except Allah, and that Muhammad ibn Abdullah ibn Abdul Muttalib al-Hashmi al-Qurashi was the final messenger and prophet sent to all of mankind. O you who believe, fear Allah as He deserves to be feared, and do not die except in a state of Islam. Do not die except that you are Muslims. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Alhamdulillah, this is lesson 15 in our reading of the tafsir of the Qur'an. Now, today's class is a little bit technical, just in the beginning, and then it gets easier as we go on. Just the first issue is a little bit technical with the wordings that are used in the Qur'an and its reference in this specific verse. So I need you to have patience with me in the beginning, and then it's chill at the end, okay? It's easy at the end. The verse that we're covering, which is, what was the last verse that we took? Alif Lam Mim. So, next verse. The next verse that we're going to take, insha'Allah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. This is the book whereof there is no doubt, a guidance to those who are al-muttaqun, those who have taqwa. This is the general translation that is given in the Muhsin Khan Taqiyuddin Hilali translation, which we said is the best translation of the Qur'an that we have. But we're going to go a little bit deeper than what is mentioned, insha'Allah. Now, the first issue is that we need to look at the first word that is used. The first word that is used in this verse, which is ذَلِكَ. ذَلِكَ. Now, why is this an issue? Why do we have to look at this? Because it is a word that points out to something that is far away in the Arabic language. The word ذَلِكَ is a term that is used to point at something that is far away from the person who's using it. Now, in the general sense, that is what the term ذَلِكَ means, and it can be translated as that. So, if I say that book, it implies that it's not close. It implies that it's far away. Yes? Everyone agree? Everyone with me so far? Okay. So over here, the word that is used, ذَلِكَ, implies in its general use in the Arabic language to something that is far away, not close. The thing that is close in the Arabic language is the word that is used to imply closeness when you're pointing to it is هذا, this. هذا, which is commonly translated as this. So if I said this book, it implies proximity, that is what? Close. It doesn't imply that it's something far away. Now, the answer of this issue that, because the Qur'an isn't far away, it's something that's close, right? So the answer that is found in the books of tafsir, like Tafsir Al-Tabari, Tafsir Al-Qurtubi, Tafsir Al-Baghawi and others, that in the Arabic language, there are times where the use of that which goes against the principle is used. So, when something is far, sometimes in the Arabic language, you can use that term to imply and point towards that which is close. Okay, sometimes it happens in the Arabic language. And we can find an example of one of the Salaf who explained it in this way, and it is found in Sahih Al-Bukhari in the chapter of Tawheed, Kitab Al-Tawheed, where Ma'mar explained this verse, and the verse it says ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابِ. Ma'mar explained it and said هَذَا الْكِتَابِ. He didn't say that book, he said this book. So this was the position of Abu Ubaidah, Ikrimah, and other than them. Why is this important? Because sometimes this is used as an example by those who make ignorant claims that there are grammatical issues in the Qur'an. There are some people who say, in the second verse of your longest chapter, in the second chapter, the second verse is wrong. It's pointing to something that is close, but it's using the term that talks about something that's far. So that's why it's important to know this issue, because these are the claims that have been made against the Qur'an. Now, the Qur'an does not have a single passage, a single verse that goes against the Arabic language, but rather it is still used today as a means to preserve the rules of the Arabic language. If it wasn't for the Qur'an, the Arabic language would have evolved in such a way where nothing would have been left the same as it was. But because the Qur'an preserved the Arabic language in this way, we still have the foundations of the Arabic language. So, this is something that we have to understand, that it was found in the tradition of the Arabs that they could use the term to point at something that's far away to something that is close. Now there is another opinion, to make things a bit complicated. There is another opinion that says, in fact, over here the Qur'an is talking about something that's far away. That over here the term dhalika is actually over here pointing at something that is far away. But rather, Imam Al-Qurtubi rahimahullah, who died in the year, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, he's making some random ones up now. 671 Hijri. 671 Hijri. He mentions that there are 10 different opinions of what it is referring to over here. ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابِ, the dhalika over here, it says yes, it's not to something that's close, it's actually talking about something that's far. But Imam Al-Qurtubi rahimahullah, he says this opinion, it then goes into 10 different opinions. Okay? So over here, we're not going to take all 10, because I know you guys want to go home. So we'll take a few of them. Okay, Bismillah. Now, remember, the first opinion that we took, and the verse that we're taking is ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ. Yes, this book has no doubt in it. That's the verse that we're talking about. And the first option that we have, the first opinion that we have, is that it is talking about that which is close, which is the Qur'an. Now, one of the opinions is that it is referring to that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wrote above that which is upon the throne. ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابِ. So, one of the first opinion that we're going to take is that it is referring to that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wrote above that which is above the throne. And this is a hadith that is found in both Bukhari and Muslim. A hadith that is authentic, that is found in Bukhari and Muslim, one of the strongest hadiths that you can find. And the hadith is that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala completed the creation, then He wrote in His book that which is with Him above the throne, Inna rahmati ghalabat ghadabi. Inna rahmati ghalabat ghadabi. That indeed my mercy prevails over my wrath. My mercy prevails, is stronger than my anger. If you want to translate it in that way. So over here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving you this hope. Don't be afraid, only afraid of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The rahmah, the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is immense. Is before the what? Punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the anger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, this writing here is what some of the scholars say, this is what this verse is referring to. That writing above the throne. That is what the first opinion that we're taking from the 10. Now another opinion is that this verse is referring to that which was revealed in Mecca. That which was revealed in Mecca, that is what this verse is referring to. Why could this be the case? Because where was this chapter revealed? In Medina, right? So we have this massive amount of Meccan surahs that were revealed in the time of the Prophet ﷺ's life in Mecca. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in this opinion, if we take this opinion, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, just because you have moved to Al-Madinah, that which was revealed before doesn't mean now it's not the Qur'an. It's still the Qur'an. Just because you did your hijrah, it is still the Qur'an. It is still the Qur'an. So they have not become null and void, and they are not in an extreme position. Then it's not like that it's not part of the Qur'an anymore. No, it's still all from the Qur'an. Okay? Now another opinion is that this verse is referring to Al-Lawh al-Mahfuz, the preserved tablets, that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wrote everything that is to be and everything that was in these tablets. Okay? Over here, that is what some of the scholars are saying. ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابِ, the kitab that is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the preserved tablets. There is no doubt in it. Whatever is there, whatever it says will happen is going to happen. Whether you like it or not, that there's no doubt in it. And everything that's mentioned that says that it has happened, just because you didn't see it, just because you didn't witness it, there is no doubt about it. That is all preserved. There is no doubt in it. Now, another opinion is that it is a reference to Alif Lam Mim. That Alif Lam Mim is no doubt from the Qur'an. Just because it's not a word per se, and it doesn't have a meaning, and you think that it makes no sense, and that it's a secret of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No. ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابِ, that's from the book. That's from the Qur'an. لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ. There is no doubt in it. This is another opinion about this verse. Now, there are other opinions, but the strongest opinion, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best, is that it is referring to the entire Qur'an and means that it is referring to something that is close. Imam al-Tabari, rahimahullah, who died in the year 310, mashallah, tabarak ar-Rahman. He's getting slow, habibi. Still driving in from Blacktown. Now, Imam al-Tabari, rahimahullah, who died in the year 310, after the hijrah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he brings many narrations from Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma, Mujahid, Ikrima, Suddi, Ibn al-Jurayj, rahimahumullah, stating the opinion of it meaning هذا القرآن, ذلك القرآن, هذا القرآن, that it means this Qur'an. Okay? Referring to proximity, and that it's referring to the Qur'an specifically. Now, the next part of the verse, لا ريب فيه. There is no doubt in it. There's no rayb in it. Rayb in the Arabic language has various meanings. All of them are linked in one way or another. And one is shak, doubt, and another is a tuhma, which means doubt over the credibility of it. Now, the Qur'an, Imam al-Qurtubi rahimahullah, he defines what the Qur'an is. And he says, where is there no doubt about this Qur'an? Imam al-Qurtubi rahimahullah, he says, it is in its essence truth. La rayba fih, there is no doubt that in its essence, the Qur'an is complete truth. And that it is revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's going through different characteristics of the Qur'an. The first, that it is what? Truth. There's no doubt that the Qur'an is what? True. The second is that it is revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That it is revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the third thing that he mentions, he says that it is a sifa, that it is a characteristic from the characteristics of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because we know that it is kalamullah, the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And kalamullah is a characteristic of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore the Qur'an is what? A characteristic from the characteristics of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm not saying this, Imam al-Qurtubi rahimahullah is. And then he says, and it is uncreated. The Qur'an is kalamullah. It is from the characteristics of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we do not say that it is created. The Qur'an, Imam al-Qurtubi rahimahullah says, is uncreated. And he says, even if the disbelievers are in doubt about it. ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ. This is the book that has no doubt in it. So someone can turn around and say, oh, so many people have doubt about it. So many people doubt it. So how can you say there's no doubt? Right? This isn't about them. It's not about the people who have doubt in it. In there, there's no doubt. In there, there's no shak. In there, it is complete revelation. In there is all of it. Every single line of the Qur'an is what? A characteristic from the characteristics of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, continuing from the Salaf, if we look at who said that there was no shak in it, there was no doubt in it, Ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhuma, who took it from a lot of the other companions radiallahu anhum ajma'een, Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma, Qatada, Mujahid, Ata, As-Suddi, they all mention that there is no shak. La rayb, la shak. There is no doubt in this Qur'an. There is no doubt in this Qur'an. And this is mentioned by Imam Al-Tabari rahimahullah in his tafsir. Imam Al-Shawkani rahimahullah, who died when? Lock it in yani? Okay, khalas. Imam Al-Shawkani rahimahullah states that it means that there is no change. La mubaddil. There is no change in it, nor can it be changed. La rayb. It's not changeable. It's not interchangeable. You can't just chuck in a word here and take a word out, right? Hide something from it, put something else in. No. There's nothing that can change the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he says rayb, in its essence what it is the uneasiness of the heart. The heart should not be uneasy when it comes to the Qur'an. Is this from Allah or not? Is it from just Kalamun Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam or not? The heart should be at complete ease that this is all Kalamullah, all from the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, munazzal, that it's revelation. That it is not from Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He is not the originator of the Qur'an, but rather An-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is the one who gave us the Qur'an from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, and Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam gave us the Qur'an from Jibreel alayhi salam, who was given the Qur'an by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay. Hudan lil muttaqeen. Hudan lil muttaqeen. Guidance for those who have taqwa. Now Imam Al-Tabari rahimahullah, he says that Ash-Sha'bi rahimahullah, he says that it is guidance from ad-dalalah. Guidance from misguidance. And the Qur'an protects you from being misguided. If you hold on to the Qur'an, in it is a guidance that you are not misguided. So it means that the first point that you are to go back to is Kalamullah, the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you have any doubt, you go back to what? Kalamullah, the Qur'an. Because it is the rope of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You hold on to this and you will remain firm. So the Qur'an is guidance from misguidance. Why is the Qur'an called Al-Furqan? Another name of the Qur'an. Why? Because it is a criterion. It distinguishes that which is truth from that which is falsehood. Yes, Al-Qur'an, what is it? Al-Furqan, another name of the Qur'an, right? Which means the criterion. Through the Qur'an you can weigh everything up. Through the Qur'an you can weigh if something is good or if something is evil. And in the Qur'an is the da'wah, is the call to follow An-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So through the Qur'an, first point, the Qur'an, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Qur'an to follow the way of An-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And so using these two things that the Qur'an has approved of, then we are able to distinguish that which is evil from that which is good. That which is good from that which is evil. Everything is established. Now, Ibn Mas'ud and other companions, they say that it is nur, it is light for those who have taqwa. Hudan, over here they described it as nur, light from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imam Al-Qurtubi rahimahullah then goes on to Al-Muttaqeen and breaks it down. And he says, what is taqwa? He looks at the word taqwa. And he says, taqwa in the Arabic language, not in the context of the Sharia, in the Arabic language, taqwa is a small amount of talking. A small amount of talking. So when someone talks less over here, that's the term that they would use, right? That was the definition of at-taqwa. But in the context of the Sharia, Imam Al-Qurtubi rahimahullah, he says, a muttaqi, someone who has this concept of taqwa in him and acts upon it, is higher than someone who is a believer or someone who just obeys. He is the one, يعني al-muttaqi, the one who has taqwa, he is the one who through his sincere good deeds and his sincere supplication, his dua, seeks to be protected from the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it is taken from the word that implies to put a barrier between you and that which you dislike. So taqwa, it comes from the word that means to put a barrier between you and that which you don't like. Now, there are traditions that are found in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ with the use of this word, where they said that we would use an-Nabi ﷺ when the fighting would become heavy in jihad. We would go and be behind an-Nabi ﷺ. We would use him to protect us, because he was what? The first point of defense. He was the shield. So they would use an-Nabi ﷺ as a point of safety and security. Now, Imam al-Tabari rahimahullah, he mentions that Ibn Mas'ud and other companions, they say that muttaqeen over here are mu'mineen, those who have faith. Those who have faith, that is who is mentioned over here with being al-muttaqeen. He also mentions the statement of Al-Kalbi rahimahullah, and he says that they are those who refrain from the major sins. Al-Muttaqeen over here, they are those who refrain and abstain from the major sins. And it is mentioned that Al-A'mash rahimahullah also agreed with this. Qatada rahimahullah, he stated that it is connected to the next verse. That over here, Hudan lil Muttaqeen, guidance to those who have taqwa, it is connected to the next verse. What is the next verse? The next verse is that they are those who believe in the unseen, those who establish the prayers and give in charity from that which was provided to them. So over here it says that if you have these conditions over here, then you are part of al-muttaqeen. You are part of those who have taqwa. This was the opinion of Qatada rahimahullah, as mentioned by Imam al-Tabari rahimahullah. Ibn Abbas rahimahullah radiyallahu anhuma, he stated that they are those who save themselves from shirk. They are those who save themselves from shirk. People accuse us, why do you guys always talk about shirk? Why do you guys always talk about shirk? Why? That guy did. Because Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma, he talked about it. And he said that this verse over here, that the Qur'an is going to be our guidance to those who have taqwa. Over here, Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma, as mentioned by Imam al-Tabari rahimahullah, who is seen as what? The greatest mufassir who lived. He is saying over here that it is those who free themselves from shirk, polytheism, and those who are upon the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Something important to note here, very, very important, is they free themselves from shirk. That's one. They free themselves from polytheism. That's one step. They're upon tawheed. And the second is that they are engaged in the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So over here, you can have the correct creed. You can be upon the correct creed. But if you don't come with action, then now we say you have a deficiency in your faith. And for the one who abandons the prayer, for instance, then there are scholars who doubt whether you're a Muslim or not. There are scholars who, mashallah, what am I supposed to do with this? Barakallahu feek. Okay. Allah yabarik feekum. Now, mashallah, there are scholars over here say that the one who abandons his prayers is what? Has left the fold of Islam. Shaykh Fawzan, hafidhahullah, he has a show, right? Well, basically, he is part of a show. But he sits down on a chair and calls come in from all across the world. Anyone wants to call, ahla wa sahlan. Just call this number and ask a question to the Shaykh. Okay? Someone called. A lady who lost her son. Died. I want you all to, he's on an opinion that is very, very strong, very valid. We're not going to say the strongest or the most correct, but it is mentioned, it is the position of a lot of the Hanabila and a lot of the ulama of Najd and Qasim and other places. Okay. Lady calls and says, Sheikh, my son has died. What can I do for him now? What can I do for him? The first question he asks, did he pray? Not answering the question, go do sadaqah, go build him a masjid, go do some African wells, go do Pakistan, go do Bangladesh, go and feed the poor. No. Did he pray? Did he pray? And then, you watched it too? No? Khalas. So then he asks this question, and then she's like, here and there. He's like, I'm not asking if he would go to the masjid. I'm saying, did he ever pray? And then after a bit here and there, she ended up saying no. He was not of those who established the prayer, barely prayed. And then the Shaykh is on the opinion that if you miss the prayer, even out of laziness, you leave the fold of Islam. So he said, you are not even allowed to make dua for him, because he is now a disbeliever, and he is not to be buried with the believers. He is not to be buried with the believers. He has died as a kafir. This is specifically with the prayer, not with any sin, not with any major sin, specifically with the prayer, because there are ahadith that are very dangerous. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said that if it was up to me, I wanted to burn down the houses of those who did not come to pray Fajr with us. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for His protection, Ya Rab. Over here, Ibn Abbas is saying those who free themselves from shirk. But what? They are upon the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So there are some people who are very strong. We have the truth, we have the haqq. You don't see them praying abadan. You don't see them, some of them might not even fast. Why? We have tawheed. So we don't have to do anything else. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for His forgiveness, Ya Rab. Now, Imam Al-Tabari rahimahullah, he mentions, he says, the best of that which has been mentioned regarding who they are, who are al-muttaqeen, this is Imam Tabari rahimahullah stating who are these people. He says they are those who protect themselves from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through avoiding that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prohibited. This is the first thing. They protect themselves from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through avoiding that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prohibited. The second that he mentions is they avoid sinning against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The third is they are those who are upon that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala established upon them from that which is obligatory. They are those who are upon that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala established upon them from that which is obligatory. Imam Al-Shawkani rahimahullah, he narrates that which is attributed to Abu Hurairah and other companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, like Umar radiallahu anhu and others, when they were asked about taqwa. Mat taqwa? What's taqwa? And they're replying that all of these companions is narrated to have been what? Have you ever traversed upon a path? Have you ever walked upon a path that had thorns by it? That had thorns on the sides? Have you ever gone through a path that was filled on the sides with thorns? And they replied, yes. So then they were asked, how did you go upon that path? And they replied by taking extreme caution. And they said, this is what taqwa is. A modern example is, if imagine a glass was to fall and you got shards of glass everywhere. Glass is everywhere. How would you walk upon those tiles or whatever it is? You tippy-toe, make sure that nothing touches you. A small little thing of glass can cause you great immense of pain. Right? So over here, you walk upon this path that has this broken glass with extreme caution. That is taqwa. That you are afraid to fall into that which is haram, that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala dislikes, and you want to create a barrier between that which is between you and the haram. Ibn Umar rahimahullah, radiallahu anhuma, he said that taqwa is that you do not see yourself as being better than anyone else. Ibn Umar, radiallahu anhuma, he said taqwa is that you do not see yourself as being better than anyone else. Umar bin Abdul Aziz, rahimahullah, he stated that taqwa is that you do that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made obligatory and avoid that which He prohibited. Now the scholars of tafsir like Imam Al-Baghawi, rahimahullah, who died in the year 516, have stated that this is an honor. This is a sharaf. This is an honor that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives this glad tidings to this specific amount of people. Hudan lil muttaqeen, this is a sharaf for them. This is an honor for them. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that the Qur'an is a guidance for them. Right? It's an honor for them. Imam Al-Qurtubi rahimahullah, he says after narrating all of the various traditions regarding taqwa and its meanings, he says, in reality, taqwa itself is an umbrella term. Taqwa itself gathers inside of it all of the goodness. Who said this? Just saying if you're awake. You look fried. Imam Al-Qurtubi rahimahullah, he says, after narrating all the opinions regarding taqwa, he says that in reality the term taqwa is an umbrella term. That in it, it gathers all of the goodness. All of the goodness. And it is the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon those who came before and those who come after. Yani it has always been that which is commanded, that people have taqwa, to enjoin in all of the goodness. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for His forgiveness. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for His acceptance. Barakallahu feekum wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam wa jazakumullahu khairan. Wassalamu alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. All the questions after TikTok closes, after the stream finishes.